welcome back to my channel. I'm Shalon Douglas, known as your Cold Ass Boss, where I spit out knowledge to you every single week on how to drive brands from innovations to investments. Today's episode is going to be focused on content as your intellectual property and exactly what does that mean and why is it important. So last episode we talked about the types of different content and why it was necessary and important to develop content in order to build your brand. Today, what I want to talk about in today's episode is the value of protecting all that you're developing and why it's fucking important to all that work that you did and that money that you invested of why you would next want to go about to protect that you have developed and incorporated and that you own. With that being said, content is a piece or a part of your intellectual property. Your intellectual property should be looked at as a type of real estate. Now there's different types of real estate, but today we're going to focus on content development. And by the way, for those of you who do not know, I am also a licensed broker, once was a licensed banker within the industry of real estate and mortgage lending. So therefore I know a lot about real estate on your traditional and non-traditional side, on the traditional and structured side, as well as your non-structured side. And also too, because I'm within the industry of developing brands within the tech, sports, and media side and develop this and do this every day, I am very aware as well as your intellectual property, also known as your content creations, and understanding how that works as well. So I wanted to be able to spit some knowledge to you today. And also too, I'm here with my team who has questions. Maybe some of their questions will help answer some questions that you may have. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into it. So what I wanna say is this: the most important thing that you should consider to do up front, anytime you're building anything, is first and foremost, make sure that you protect everything that you are developing and that you are creating. It makes no fucking sense to go about to develop content that somebody else can either take from you, use from you, copycat from you, whatever the case might have you, and you own no rights to your original creation that you developed. So I always tell my clients, when it comes to building out their business models around their brand, business models that consist of 12 elements, the very first element that you want to make sure that you have in place is your legal element, meaning like you have yourself and your resources set up in place to where you make sure that your intellectual property, your product, whatever your MVP, any of things that you're creating as a creative entrepreneur, that you are set up with legalities in place to protect your property. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the questions that you guys might have. Go ahead and just shoot them at me. Let's go.
How do you leverage your intellectual property? Like, how do you use it to generate income?
Excellent question. We're going to go back to the types of content that you're creating, the intellectual property that you're creating, right? So say for an example, you are an educator. I'm going to ask you this: what content should you be focused on creating as an educator?
Educating content.
I'll help you out. Let's just say courses. Okay. So in exchange of receiving compensation for the content that you're creating, okay, as an educator, you will be putting together courses, materials, which you definitely are going to want protected, right? That you are putting together an exchange of value that's going to help your customer or your client. All right. So in creating the courses, aren't you going to then turn around and charge or assess a dollar amount in exchange for that value that you're giving to your customer or your client? So that's one example of how you would create intellectual property, or how you would create content that is your intellectual property in exchange for dollars.
Like, what's the difference between just creating content and making intellectual property?
Anything you create is your intellectual property. Okay, so but now how you use it and apply your content, it's up to you, because I don't know what, as a creative entrepreneur, I don't know what you're using your content for. You might just be using some content just to help promote yourself, right, and market yourself or market your brand. Nevertheless, that's still tied into real estate that you've put your money into, that you've invested to create, to build towards an equitable brand and business model. Does that answer your question?
In a great way, yes.
How does social media affect intellectual property?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to elaborate because that's a very big question. Give me an example.
Well, like when people are posting on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, there's like the repost and the share.
Uh-huh.
So like, how do you protect yourself when anybody can really just share like over and over again?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people don't know that when you post your content on another platform, such as a social media or medium platform, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and all of them, when you first sign up, you know the little fine writing that says what they can do, what you can't do, or what you can do, and blah, 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 servicing rights and all that kind of stuff. They also include in their terms and agreement, which is part of their legality protection for their platform, you are agreeing to that anything that you post up on their platform now belongs to them. A lot of people don't know that. So because it belongs to them and their platform is designed to share, social share, repost and stuff like that, it gives people other people's rights or other people who are the audience to post and reshare, because you've kind of given up your rights to, as far as copywritten material, intellectual property, anything that you share, videos, pictures, anything that you're putting up, what you're saying, it's like you're giving them the right to own that content. So, as long as you understand that that's how it works on these different social media platforms, the most important place where you can, if you don't want that to happen, I'm gonna ask you a question. What place do you think is most important where you can post that, where you still own it?
Your website?
Exactly. Your own fucking website. So I'm glad you asked that question, because a lot of people ignore fine print, and a lot of people do not understand and realize that when they place their content on these other social mediums, you're giving up your rights as to what can be used and how it can be used and how it can be reposted and different things like that on these different social media platforms.
How have you used your intellectual property to its greatest advantage?
To its greatest advantage?
Yeah.
I thought you were actually going in a different direction. I was going to say, because I built my fucking platforms.
Oh, we can talk about it all. How did you use it? How did you build it? Let's do it all. Yeah.
You know, I'm a creative entrepreneur myself. You know, I started out in building tech platforms. So, you know, kind of going back to the question that I just answered with how do you placing your content on somebody else's platform, and besides placing it on your own website, you can create your own application, such as your own mobile app, your own web app, and then again, if you own that platform, you own the platform and you own the content that gets placed on it, right? So first of all, I understood and knew right away what rights I was giving up, and first of all, the purpose of what I was applying my content to these different platforms or mediums, if you will. I understand already up front why I'm using them, for the purpose I'm using them. So as long as I understand that, I know that certain content is going to be placed on other people's social media platforms, right? But I know that me giving up those rights as far as my intellectual property, I'm good with that, because the purpose of using other people's, which is leveraging, by the way, the purpose of using other people's platforms is so that I can grow my influence. I want people to know who the fuck I am, what I do, and what I have to offer to the creative entrepreneur, so that way there's more people sitting on these mediums than it is coming to my website. So therefore, I know the purpose of me using another person's medium or platform, and I'm speaking, I should just speak plain English instead of Greek. Knowing that I'm using other social media platforms, I'm okay with that, because I know that my purpose is to grow my influence where there's millions of other people sitting on these different platforms. So therefore, I'm leveraging off of those other people's platforms, which is going to be my gain in the end. Okay?
Smart. Yeah.
Is there such thing as bad intellectual property and good intellectual property?
There's such thing as badass content and good ass content, which is still your intellectual property.
Okay.
So I guess the quick answer to that is yes, you can own. I mean, intellectual property is just that you've created that you own. So if you built something that's about bullshit, then yeah, that's gonna be some badass content, right? Just don't build no bullshit.
For sure.
You don't want to put your hard-earned time, you know what I'm saying, resources and capital into developing out bullshit as content. That's why we focus on immersive content. Building brands and developing out fire applications and platforms was so easy, then everybody would have a success story. It's rules to this shit, right? And how you know what the rules are and how to apply them so that you could be positioned for the investment opportunity. I want to make sure I'm answering y'all questions thoroughly. Okay. Sam, like, did you have a question? Another question?
No, I was just saying one more question. Like,
Oh, he's saying one more fucking question because we gotta go. Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, I'll wrap it up. I mean, I hope that you found some valuable information based out of this episode with your content being your intellectual property and why it's important to go about to protect that intellectual property. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that button so that you can follow us and continue to get more valuable information. And also, too, if you have any questions, make sure you put your questions, jot them down below. I promise to answer each and every single one of them. And yeah, that's all we have for today. So be sure to come back so that you can get some more rules to this shit and how shit works, how it applies. All right? See y'all. Check y'all later. Peace.